Caleb. Have you ever heard tale of a man named Alan Conway?
Alan Conway. Now, that's no relation to the Conway from the Trump administration, is it?
No, but that is a grifter in of herself.
Okay, cool. So
In fact, there's almost an episode.
there's
in
definitely
that,
an episode in Conway, yeah.
No, Alan Conway is now a deceased man who his grift was sort of in the 80s and 90s, but it requires a bit of background information.
Okay.
Before we get into it, okay?
Do you know if his cause of death, or is that a part of the story?
It's the funniest part of it.
Well, okay. Well, that's already kind of dark, but all right, go on.
So the first, we need information on two characters here.
Uh-huh.
Our first character, Alan Conway, born as Eddie Allen
Jablowski. Born as. Sorry, that was his original name.
Yes.
Jablowski. All right.
And I don't know if you're a detective, but that means that he changed his name to Alan Conway.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's got Con in the name, but I would try and get away from Jablowski as much as I could.
I also.
Imagine if I never met Jablowskis.
So Eddie Allen Jablowski was a Londoner born in the 1930s. At the age of 13, he was sent to what they call a borstal, and as far as I can tell, it's like
I know what a borstal is.
Yeah, it's like a juvie. For stealing, where he started allegedly changing his name all the time and claiming to be a Polish Jew who had escaped a Nazi concentration camp.
Wait, whoa, in 18...
He was born in the 1930s, so it would have been 1943.
So that is like plausible,
It's plausible,
biologically, but it's
and
not.
I'm not usually a stolen valor kind of guy.
Yeah.
Jesus
But the
Christ,
stripes,
dude.
yeah, that's
You
not
can't
something
claim
you should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is Jablowski a Jewish last name? I couldn't figure out if he was actually Jewish or not.
I don't know.
Because if he isn't even Jewish, that's fucking insane.
Well, yeah, if he is Jewish, it's probably worse though.
Maybe.
I
guess. Yeah, I don't know. But as an adult, he changed his name to Alan Con with two N's as to not give away the game.
Yeah.
And then later became Alan Conway, which is how we'd be referring to him.
Okay.
And he started a family of a woman he met in London, had a child, moved to South Africa, but had to return to England after his business started to get investigated by authorities.
His business in South Africa.
Yeah, I couldn't really figure out what he had necessarily done.
Okay.
But he got kicked out of France as well for just blanket fraud. I can't find the specifics. But yeah, the only real sources on this guy is there's a Guardian article written in 99, a 30-minute interview with a guy who made a movie about him, which I'll get to, and a 10-minute BBC documentary they made about him.
Okay.
But all this information comes from his son. And he didn't have a great relationship with his son, as I'll get into. So
that gives his son less reason to
keep
lie.
that in mind, yeah. I don't think his son's lying, but that is our primary source today, so let's keep it in mind.
Sure.
Upon returning to London, he started up a travel agency with his wife and lived a pretty normal life. I imagine he was probably swindling people. Being a travel agent is already a bit of a grift to start with.
They always have jobs that start out like that.
Yeah, just it's like a
time.
car salesman kind of thing. But then in the late 80s, there was a tragic series of events that sort of jokerified him. He left his wife for a gay lover, who I only mention he's gay because he almost immediately, instantly died of AIDS.
Dude, I'm bringing up AIDS in mine as well. And
really?
We brought... it might not get released, but last time we sort of did a recording of something like this and we brought up AIDS as well. And I'm starting to wonder...
AIDS is the ultimate grift,
yeah.
isn't it?
What is it about the HIV?
Yeah. But then, his travel agency fell apart, obviously, because of, he split up with his wife, which forced him to become an alcoholic.
Forced him.
Sure. Yeah, caused him, I guess. And then his ex-wife died, and he was left to raise his son alone.
God, this is really upsetting stuff, man.
It is
sounds
really
like a lot to go through.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Well, don't feel too bad for him. He instantly started abusing his son and actually broke his kneecap one time, which led to his son being taken away from him and put into a children's home at age 16. Okay, so that's our first character.
Okay.
Any questions so far?
Alan is our first character.
That's our first character.
Alan Conway abused his kid.
Yeah, alcoholic.
Gay lover who tragically died.
Yeah.
I think I'm at terms with all that. How old is this man at this sort of point in his life?
So he's born in the 1930s. Do some quick maths for me.
Okay.
Started his grifting in the 80s.
Well, that's 50 years, isn't it?
Yes. Let's call him 50 upon the start
That's an old grift.
Yeah, he was an old man. Our second character, and you may have heard of him, is the film director Stanley Kubrick.
Really?
Yeah, do you know who that is?
I do know who Stanley Kubrick is, yeah, but...
if you don't know who it is, he's the guy that directed The Shining, 2001 Space Odyssey, Eyes Wide Shut, and a bunch of other like classic movies.
Now, people might not be like that familiar with who we are, but you might describe yourself as a little bit of a movie guy.
A cinephile.
Yeah. How would you how do you feel about Stanley Kubrick before we move on? And has this changed your view of him in any way?
A little bit.
Interesting. Mostly
the people around him. Some information contextually is that Stanley Kubrick is an American man with a really bushy beard who moved to England in 1961. Okay, so he does live in England, but he's American and he has a bushy beard.
Is he alive?
Stanley Kubrick?
Yeah.
It's not really a spoiler because it's like so commonly known, but no, he's not alive.
I don't actually know what happened to him. I can't think about what.
Well, you'll find out.
But then again, there hasn't been any Stanley Kubrick movies in a while. So.
Yeah, that's probably clue number one. So here is where, now that we have those two characters.
Stanley Kubrick.
Alan
Conway.
All right.
Formerly Alan Jablowski.
Yes. Formerly actually Eddie Alan Jablowski.
Eddie.
He got rid of Eddie as well, which is a fair cop. All right, so here's where the grift starts. Alan Conway decides one day he wants to go watch a play called The Rose Tattoo, starring in the play, Julia Walters. Do you know who
Did Stanley Kubrick direct this play?
No.
Okay.
No.
Julia Walters? No idea.
She's Ron's mum from Harry Potter. She's Molly.
The one who
Molly
kills
Weasley.
Bellatrix.
Yeah. You bitch!
Yeah.
That one.
And a really empowering sort of she-boss moment where
she bossed the fuck out of that definitely mentally ill woman.
Well, she was
Who
also
was a murderer.
Nazi. I don't know why you're like championing Bellatrix.
Listen, I saw an opportunity to virtue signal, and I jumped the gun.
Okay.
I jumped the wand.
You go on.
Okay. He tried to buy a ticket, no seats left. And he goes, listen, I don't really want to throw my name around or anything, but I am...
Have you heard of the Jablowski?
I am Stanley Kubrick.
Oh.
And I was wondering if you could just like fit me in somewhere. It's important to note at this point, and keep this in your head the entire time, that Alan Conway reportedly had a really bad American accent, like impression. He was terrible at doing it. He looks nothing like Stanley Kubrick. He's like completely shaved, like does not look like him.
Nobody knows
what
what directors look like. It's like...
And particularly, nobody knew what Stanley Kubrick looked like because he was famously a recluse.
Okay.
He like didn't have photos in magazines. He didn't go and do press or anything like that. Like, that is the grift, is that not many people really knew what he looked like. Yeah. There are twists and turns that come up though, right? And to finish off his like resume, he had only seen one Stanley Kubrick movie, Barry Lyndon, and he didn't like it. Okay. He didn't like it.
And
so why he chose I don't know if it's like a calculated thing that he chose a director that was reclusive. There's many of them.
Yeah.
But it is hilarious.
I tried a similar thing where I tried to say that I was Jordan Peele, but they didn't let me in.
They didn't let you in, no. Have you seen the film Get Out? Here's the man himself.
So I went to the box office. There were no seats at that time. And I said, look, I don't want to throw my name around, but I'll tell you who I am. I'm Stanley Kubrick, and I'd very much like to see the show tonight.
Well, yes.
Have you got a single seat? Yes. We certainly have a single seat for you. Would you like to see them afterwards? I said, sure. So I saw the show, and
he doesn't avoid words
a
with
man
the
came just at the finish, took me to the...
we picked Stanley Kubrick.
To their dressing room, and we chatted for half an hour about what she's doing. She would like very much to work for me because she knew a lot about my films. I'm sorry, his films.
So that's weird, point number one, right?
Couldn't know that much about
so
films.
Did Patricia Hayes. She said, I'd love to work for you. I said, well, I'll think about it. And I walked out into the grey night, and as far as they're concerned, they met Stanley Kubrick. And I may be doing something for them. And I got a big buzz.
Okay, so that's. I feel like that's all you need to know about the guy. Like, that's sort of his motivations.
Is it bad to make fun of the speech impediment of someone who is like objectively immoral and like Broke a kid's knee and stuff. Because
maybe. I don't know. It's up to you. You get to pick. You and the viewers get to decide.
Whereas you have a speech impediment, so
whereas I have a speech impediment, whereas I'm allowed. Yeah. But you may ask yourself, what is the grift? Pretending to be Stanley Kubrick.
Well, you got a free movie ticket?
He got a free movie ticket. And by the way, he did that thing getting the ticket at the play. And then that worked so well for him, he did it into the late 90s. So he did this up until the day he died.
Just free movies?
Well, yeah. So what he would do is he would meet people and be like, hey, I'm Stanley Kubrick. And they'd be like, oh my God. And they would shout him dinner and take him to restaurants, put him up in really nice hotels.
Hold on, but if I met Stanley Kubrick, I would be like, you should shout me dinner.
No, but you're trying to you want to be in his movie.
I guess so, but it's so weird to offer.
No, that's rich.
That's monetarily gift things.
That's
to
rich people shit, bro. That's
really
rich people shit. Yeah, definitely.
All right.
And that sounds bad. He's scamming. He's tricking people, scamming money.
Well, yeah, it is bad.
The actual grift and the reason why it isn't really funny and is quite gross is that he would also sleep with a lot of men under the pretense of being yeah, I'll put you in a movie. So he would trick guys into having sex with him. And I would like to now at this point put a little what's it called, a little side note,
little pin, yeah,
a little pin in this, in that this happened in the 80s and 90s, and all of the news coverage is in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And it's all immensely homophobic.
In what way? Just
everything is be yeah, he broke his son's kneecap and he was gay.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And dude, there's so much stuff that I've had to a lot of this information is a source I'm going to get to that I'd really take with a fucking grain of salt because
right.
There's an interview with one of my sources about this guy, and he's just immensely homophobic the entire time. He makes a joke. I never heard this expression before, but have you heard of being a friend of Dorothy's?
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
He's a friend of Dorothy.
No. He's not a friend of Dorothy. He's no, some people say that blank was a friend of Dorothy's.
Yeah. He's a friend of Dorothy.
He was Dorothy.
Is that what it says? He was Dorothy.
That's what the guy said, yeah.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of English expressions like that.
Yeah.
Apparently, if you're on your period, it's that Aunt Irma's come to visit.
Aunt Irma?
Yeah.
Why
I don't know, man. I don't know what they're on about over there, but they've got distant relatives and old woman friends to explain all sorts of parts of your identity. Right. Friend of Dorothy's, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this friend of Dorothy's, that's offensive, right? To say that.
Well, it's
so silly, but it must be offensive.
I imagine it is. I don't know whether it's.
I only heard it out of the mouth of someone that's clearly homophobic.
It's a. Inherently what it is it's a secretive or coded way to send a message that someone's homosexual, and to have the need to do it in the first place is probably for homophobic reasons, right?
Right, yeah. So here's a couple highlights from this guy, because that is just the grift. He would just do that, right? But here are some highlights for you. He once convinced 2 reporters and a Hollywood producer who had met and worked with Stanley Kubrick before. So he actually tricked someone who had already met Stanley Kubrick. Which is hilarious. He was yeah, I shaved my beard.
Yeah.
And the guy was oh my God,
well, I guess
nice to see you again, Stanley.
Do they have Google on their phones or whatever?
No, that's
the thing, right? Yeah. To actually have someone in front of you and say to them, "You are not Stanley Kubrick," is a massive thing.
They were dubious enough that.
Although, if he was trying to Weinstein me before, I probably would look into it. Right?
I'll investigate. Yeah.
I don't know.
They were dubious enough that they actually wrote an article about it.
Okay.
The 2 reporters about meeting Stanley, and they put meeting Stanley in quotations. I can't actually.
Oh, so they were suspicious that it wasn't actually Stanley.
I think they were mostly convinced, but
okay.
I couldn't find the article either. I've found whispers of the article, but the article itself has been lost to time.
Yeah, he seemed a lot more like he was a Polish Holocaust survivor than he did Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, certainly. But a friend of Kubrick saw the article.
A friend of Kubrick. What does that make you?
Yeah, really into movies.
Yeah.
A friend of Kubrick saw the article and called up Kubrick, and Kubrick was no, it's not. I was not hanging out in that random British pub.
Yeah.
And then somehow Alan got that guy's number and called him up, maybe to convince him that he
was like, hey, I am Stanley Kubrick, by the way.
And allegedly, he like described. He was like, in order to convince him, he was like describing his life in his movies. And according to the guy who he called, he just got every detail wrong. Like, he like had never really watched any of Kubrick's movies. Was like very evasive when someone would like quiz him on Kubrick, and like knew nothing about his life.
Here's the thing: let's say somebody, I do an interview, right, because. Two lucky reporters managed to land Grifter of the Week star Kaleb Payne for their broadcast, and they're interviewing me a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And then later on, it turns out that they're like questioning my identity of who I was in this interview in the press, but I am actually Kaleb Payne.
Yeah, you'd be mad.
What I absolutely don't do is call them up and start telling them details about my life in an attempt to convince them that I am who I am. I immediately go, that's hilarious and weird.
Yeah.
What are they talking about?
This part is strange. The only source of this is just the guy saying that it happened.
Right.
I don't know why he would call him or how he got his number. And the guy just, because it was in the BBC documentary, he's just like, yeah, and then he got my number and he called me and he got it all wrong. So like, maybe he's just like bullshitting because he wants to be like part of the party.
Right.
Like he's not a character that's really that important at all. But yeah, one of the key points is that Alan just knew nothing about Kubrick at all and never really made an effort to like educate himself. Like
it would be so easy.
It'd be so easy. Just go to the library or like watch his movies.
Watch a movie, yeah.
Another highlight, I guess it's less of a highlight. Highlight's like a weird word for it.
Sorry, I like to think that like girls trying to like let each other know that the boy that they're talking to is like a hostile soft boy.
Yeah, he's a friend of Kubrick's.
Hey, he's a friend of Kubrick's.
Yeah, he's a friend of Kubrick's. Don't talk to him about Pulp Fiction. A friend of Tarantino is just a guy that says the N-word.
Yeah, for sure.
Alan once got involved with a singer who was trying to get a Vegas residency, which is like apparently like an amazing thing. And Alan was like, yeah, I'm a famous guy in Hollywood. I'll like get that sorted for you.
Sure.
And then that musician went and like told his manager. And the manager was like, why the fuck would Stanley Kubrick be in this random British town, like talent scouting, like C-level singers?
Yeah.
And so he called up Pinewood Studios, which was, affiliated with Kubrick, and got confirmation that it wasn't Kubrick and that they had like heard of this guy before.
Oh, okay.
And that he was a con man. So the manager invited, quote unquote, Stanley or Alan to dinner. With a friend of his, and then just bombarded him with Kubrick trivia. Because they rented a book. They like went to the library, got a book of like Kubrick trivia.
Dude,
out.
What you're describing is like literally my worst nightmare. Like I have like actual nightmares about like people quizzing me about lies that I cannot substantiate. Yeah. Well, like, that sounds terrifying.
Apparently, he just got all of them wrong.
I would like throw up on my dinner and run out of the restaurant. Like I could not manage this.
Well, this guy was a compulsive liar, right?
Well, yeah.
And then according to Kubrick's assistant, who was the really homophobic guy that like I don't really want to like draw that much information on, because not only did he like write a movie about it that I didn't watch, because he like even admitted that like almost none of the things in the movie are like true. Yeah, he's just like such a dickhead, man. But according to Kubrick's assistant, the real Stanley found out and thought it was funny at first. But then when they discovered that he was gay, he was upset.
Really?
He was like, oh, some guy's pretending to be me? That's funny. Like, how quaint and silly is that? And then they're like, yeah, it's like having sex with a bunch of men. And they're like, what? Because apparently, like, Hollywood producers and stuff were like, it was like a rumor now that Kubrick was like gay because of these things that were happening.
Right.
And he didn't like that. And they tried to press charges against him, but they like no one would testify because like, to go into a courtroom and be like, yeah, this guy who looks nothing like Stanley Kubrick and has no reason to be Stanley Kubrick, doesn't sound like Stanley Kubrick and knows nothing about him or his movies, convinced me to suck his penis so that I would be in Vegas.
Right.
Like, it's just, they couldn't convince anyone to do it. But they were finally able to get the police on him when he signed a document as Stanley Kubrick to refinance a nightclub.
No.
Yeah, that's like criminal enough. You don't need it. The proof is in the pudding. Like, and now I said nightclub, but his assistant was like, and it was a gay nightclub.
Right.
Which is like, okay.
Well, it's not relevant
It's not that
it's not relevant, and he's clearly targeting it for homophobic reasons. But,
no, but
a gay nightclub and a nightclub are very different things. Like,
not in terms of criminality,
which is what we're talking about. Fucking like, Ivy, dude. Then, yeah, well, the criminality, man.
But anyways, you can get into that if you want to get into that.
If anyone wants to DM me about my issues with Ivy as an establishment, feel free to.
Well, that's a sponsorship we've lost.
Good.
But before they could arrest him, he checked himself into a mental hospital, claiming to be experiencing delusions of being Stanley Kubrick. Let's put a second pin in it. All of the sources are like basically paint this out to be an incredibly calculated move, and it is in that they dropped the charges and the whole sort of thing like went away, and then he like went out of the mental hospital once the heat was down. But it should be noted that his son, who had returned to live with him at the time, said that he did not drop the act when he was at home. Right?
Like he did act as Stanley Kubrick when he was at home.
Act as Stanley Kubrick. He would tell his son about like trips to Rio de Janeiro and New York that he took as Stanley Kubrick. His friends would phone him up and call him Stanley.
I think that you've actually brought up a really interesting point, which is that we treat grifters like they're like inherently evil.
He was also, we should, as I said at the start, like he was an alcoholic this entire time. So he's not only is he wasted the entire time, his like son claims that, he didn't really drop the act when he was at home.
Yeah.
Which to me, like the grift of like stealing all the money and sleeping with the people, like if he was the real Stanley Kubrick, he would still be a grifter, right? For like lying about all these things. But in terms of actually like believing himself to be Stanley Kubrick, the fact that he never researched Stanley Kubrick at all or watched his movies but just claimed to be him sounds like more of a mental health issue.
Yeah, you're actually right, because why would you like research your own life, I guess? Like that's maybe the like, I just am Stanley Kubrick.
Exactly. And the audio I played was from a documentary in which he talks about like once he got drunk, he would act like him. He said he treats it like he was a method actor. That's how he talks about it. Like it's not, I'm not joking when I say this, although it sounds like a joke. Like he did kind of like identify as Stanley Kubrick.
I was just going to say that, but the problem with that is that you cannot identify as people who already exist for a very good reason.
But that seems to be like...
Yeah, it seems as though it was an expression of his identity and how he wanted his life to be.
Yeah, exactly.
But that he isn't a harmless act, right?
No. But he was living out, like, it seemed to me more like a guy stuck in a shitty life that was living out a fantasy and like playing a role that gave him like fulfillment in that way. So yeah, and like the news coverage from the time is like pretty limited because they just didn't digitize any of this stuff. There's one Guardian article, a BBC documentary, and they made a John Malkovich movie, Color Me Kubrick.
Color Me Kubrick.
I wouldn't recommend watching it. The trailer looks like dog shit. Yeah. It was written by Stanley Kubrick's assistant, who definitely had a vendetta against Alan.
Yeah.
And it was directed by Stanley Kubrick's like assistant director. They made it after his death, and the writer is quoted as saying that like Stanley would hate it if he knew about it. He would have seen it as like a betrayal.
Really?
But then he also says that he asked Stanley's wife, and she was like, "That's fine."
What happened to Stanley Kubrick?
We're about to get into that. Alan's story comes to a sad end in the late 90s. He checked into a rehab for alcoholism and became a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, where he told because part of Alcoholics Anonymous is you like have to tell your life story and be like really open and honest about how you got to where you got to. So he told everyone that he had a secret business in the Cayman Islands, which was of course not true. He died of a heart attack in December of 1998. Leaving behind a bizarre and sad legacy, as well as getting the last laugh, as 3 months later the real Stanley Kubrick would also die of a heart attack, finally flipping the script.
The last laugh? Because he died first.
No, but Stanley copied him. His final act, he had a heart, they died in the exact same way, 3 months apart. Alan went first.
Right.
Now, did they find a strange bruise on Alan's neck that possibly suggested foul play?
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Did they later rule it to not be foul play? Yes. Did he live with a son who he had abused his entire life?
Well, you think his son
also,
killed him?
I'm not alleging that.
That is a crazy thing to say.
I'm not alleging that. He apparently, the writer of the movie knew someone that lived across the street from him. and had them spy on him, which is another really weird thing. And apparently he had a whole bunch of people that he had ripped off coming around the house threatening him. His son says that someone like called them up after he had died and was like, Stanley, I'm going to like get you. You know? He left £30,000 to a former friend of his, £5,000 to another man, and the rest of his money to his son. Right? The problem is he had no money.
So no money to his
son. So no money to anybody.
Wait, you mean like literally he's written a will, but there's
no money to give.
It's the thought that counts.
And apparently he owed somebody £30,000, the person he gave it to. And that was like a joke, it was a meme.
Oh, right.
So he was grifting from the thing. And then here, as a way to wrap this up, here is sort of a sentence verbatim from the Guardian article at the time that sort of, I think, communicates the like weird homophobia and stuff. But there was an outstanding phone bill for £879, primarily from calling gay chat lines. It's like,
why are you bringing up his personal phone
like
records?
him being is it because he's lonely? Maybe that it's irrelevant information. Not really.
What I want to know is that's like open to a bunch of questions for me, because how expensive are these hotlines?
Yeah, I want to know like how much it costs. Like, is that a ludicrous amount?
If he spent like 950 hours on gay chat lines, I would want to know that. That's relevant to me. But if they're just charging out the asshole,
well, yeah. How much is a gay chat line?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
What? Call one up right now.
We can't.
If
we don't have the technology, or the gumption. But yeah, man, that's the tall tale of Alan Conway.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Well, yeah, none that you can answer. Right. I don't think. I don't think you have the information, like, unless you have.
Well, try me. Try me.
I'm mostly interested in like what his son has to say.
Well, his son did not like his dad. He did move back in with him. Maybe he had, tough times and had to move back in. I don't know how like willingly he did that. What I'm most interested in is I'd like to know about like his like previous grifting life. Like he got kicked out of South Africa and France allegedly for like fraudulently, running businesses. And
I feel like a bit of an arsehole because I've done a lot of research on a lot of different grifters now. Mm-hmm. And since you've brought up the fact that it was possible that he potentially had some sort of mental illness and identity issue that sort of caused him to think he was Stanley Kubrick, I hadn't really considered the sort of mental illness side of this at all.
Well, I don't know. I just think that he was possibly at times less lucid and cunning than people like painted him out to be.
No, but the thing about the theme that I've found so far is that every single one of these grifters, there's always like a prequel. There's always like when they were like this age, they started doing this kind of grift, and then it escalates, and it's like clearly their entire life, so they've had some kind of issue with like their identity and the truth, and like
but this guy is also like borderline a rapist.
Yeah, no, of course, but what I'm saying is that like there are like signs always early on in these people's lives that like.
Yeah, I listen, I agree and I empathize with them, but like, a lot of people have tragic pasts and don't like do that. But I would definitely, I think, make the point that there's definitely something going on beyond just pretending to be a film director you've never met before or seen movies of.
Yeah, well, he talked about getting a buzz, didn't he? Okay, great. So we've got our first female grifter. Nice. Being all about equality. Her name is Anita Sarkeesian.
Right.
That's not true.
Oh, is it not? Oh my God. I was like...
The look on your face.
Fuck, dude. It's not that... I don't really know enough about her to have an opinion on her, but I just know the audience that would...
I thought that was a really clear joke. I don't know. Like you were going to kill yourself.
I know that a lot of people are like... Listen, Gamergate, this is like old shit, but... I never really investigated Gamergate. I just picked the opposite of the side that Notch was on. That's how I navigated those waters. I know it's got something to do with someone, like a game developer having sex with a journalist, and then...
No, but there was a whole thing about how she like crowdfunded for a game that she was going to make or something, and then like...
Who, Anita
Sarkeesian, and they got way more money than she initially asked for.
Right.
And then was like, well, now because I have more money, I have to spend more time making it so that it's like worth the product. Because you guys are giving me like hundreds of thousands more dollars. I need to like make this better. And then,
I really fucking wish I could remember the name of the guy that made the Yogscast game, because that'd be a fucking devastatingly good joke.
Yeah.
Hire
Rip,
that guy.
man.
What was his name?
I don't know.
It was some username like Chucklefish or some shit like that.
I really honestly don't know what they were thinking, putting all the eggs in one basket like that and just letting a guy...
Some random dude.
Just like, yeah, sure.
Like some Unity game that's like a Minecraft clone, but like featuring their avatars.
It was quite naive, I think. But then we don't really know the whole story because they don't really talk about it that much unless they're like making jokes about it. But the jokes seem to obfuscate.
Yeah.
Anyway. So, I have an American man for you.
Okay.
This man is still alive today.
Sure.
His name's Kevin Trudeau.
Kevin Trudeau, is he related to the Canadian Prime Minister?
No.
Okay. Will he sue us?
Maybe.
Maybe.
To be honest, he does do that.
You know what? And I don't know how easy it is to sue a podcast in New Zealand as an American man, but we would get famous. And if you want to give us some clout, maybe a gentle lawsuit.
Yeah.
That we win.
Well,
would be perfect. We need our H3 moment.
Return to that. Okay. Store that away in your mind, and then at the end of this, we'll return to maybe us getting in a legal battle with him because I think it's an interesting idea.
All right.
Okay, so his name's Kevin Trudeau. Now, maybe there are some people right now listening who clicked on this because Kevin Trudeau was in the title, or they didn't.
No one clicked because of Alan Conway.
Of this Kevin Trudeau. They might be thinking, hold on a second. I love Kevin Trudeau.
Interesting.
Me and my brethren have had our lives completely uplifted by this man who, for us, went down to expose truths that the government will not allow us to have.
Really? Have we got our own little QAnon?
There's a big old community for this man's work that still exists now.
Okay.
And I don't know how to like not be mean about this, but like with the information that I'm about to present you with, the fact that this community still exists is fucking insane.
Really?
Like, this is all like in your face information a lot of the time.
Are we going to play a game where I have to guess, or is it too hard?
Feel free to like take.
Can you trickle me some information?
Yeah. Okay. So, first of all, he was born in 1963.
Okay.
He's 58 now.
Sure.
I think. I hope so. February the 6th. Happy belated birthday, Kevin. What else? What other information am I going to? Okay, so in the 90s, he got arrested for 11 counts of credit card fraud. Mm-hmm. Classic stuff, just like normal stuff.
Yeah.
And $80,000 in false checks.
God, that's a lot of checks, dude.
Yeah, I guess so. He also impersonated a physician on multiple occasions, which is something that these people seem to do a lot of the time. And for that, he spent 2 years in prison in the 90s. Okay, so before...
That's our prologue?
Before anything...
Yeah, he went to prison.
This man has been in 2 years of prison for 11 counts of credit card fraud and $80,000 of checks.
Sure.
Okay, so like, that's number one. Like, if my hero had that and nothing else on their resume...
There goes my hero.
I'd be...
Counting counterfeit checks.
Exactly. So we're going to get into a history of sort of how this guy became who he is, but we're just going to start at the start. So he's born in Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. He was an adopted boy. He went to St. Mary's High School, and he was voted by his peers most likely to succeed.
Interesting.
Which, depending on your point of view,
right. Well, we need to know the other kids in the class.
Well, a lot of people...
What if Akon's in the class?
Akon?
What if Akon is in the class? You heard me. Don't pretend that you didn't hear me. What if Akon is in that class? Is Akon more successful than this man?
Well, it depends on your barometer of success, isn't it?
How many smash hits?
If Alan Conway were in the class.
Well, yeah, I guess it depends. I don't know enough.
So anyway, he was a used car salesman, if you can believe that, as soon as he left high school.
Yeah.
It's always car salesman.
Yeah, the travel agent of motorized vehicle rentals.
Yeah, the stereotype of like how this car salesman just wants to like screw you or whatever seems to just evidently be true because it seems to just attract the most absolute slimy bastards. Like
definitely.
So then he joins this group called Nutrition for Life, and it's kind of hard to explain what it is because like the thing about these sorts of groups is they're kind of vaguely defined.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like a nutrition and dietary, but like also spiritual, like that kind of company. But ultimately, as it was found by a court later on, it was a pyramid scheme.
Right.
And he joined into that pyramid scheme.
A food pyramid scheme.
No, I think it was just multi-level marketing in whatever the content for Nutrition for Life was.
Surely Nutrition for Life is some food-based thing.
It's food-based. It's like...
Right. So that joke stands. The food pyramid. It's a food pyramid scheme.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
That's
all
okay.
right. I've just became... Yeah, fuck, man. That was funny. Should we go... Do you want to try it again?
We'll try it again, yeah.
So he joined Nutrition for Life, which was later found out to be a food...
Fuck. Run it back.
He joined Nutrition for Life, and he later found that to be...
a food pyramid scheme.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was settled in court for $185,000, not him, Nutrition for Life.
God, he's racking up the fucking
No,
numbers,
he's not.
dude.
He was just, I think, conned by Nutrition for Life. He wasn't like...
Oh, he's not even the top
being
of the
fined.
pyramid.
No.
Oh, he's down with the wheats and the barleys.
Yeah, exactly. So he starts doing infomercials, which is like, I think where most people would know him from. Is that he did a lot of infomercials.
Oh, this isn't the Nutribullet guy, right?
No.
Okay.
No. They're older than that. They're like 90s.
This better not be
2000.
If this is the ShamWell guy, I'm hitting stop record right now.
It is no infomercial that you know about.
Okay.
It's you. We were wild.
Because that's a sacred institution, that man.
But he became a best-selling author, and would often like push his own books on the infomercials of other products that he was selling. His infomercials would claim to have like all sorts of dietary goodness and like natural alternative remedies or whatever that would like do all sorts of things. I've written down here as the only example, baldness, because it's the original snake oil grift.
Right.
Is that he is on these infomercials.
He's going to get your hair back.
Is trying to sell you hair loss remedy.
Right.
And these are all just like important things to think about when you think about the fact that there's a community. I won't reveal the hashtag yet, but there is a group, you know. So he writes a book called "Natural Cures They," in quotation marks, don't want you to know about.
I always love they. Like
It's always
in quotation
they.
marks, they. I love that. Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that you have to write they, because otherwise you can get sued, right?
Well, they could be anyone.
They is whatever you want it to be, really.
Yeah.
He sold 5 million copies and became a New York bestseller. He really sold the absolute shit out of pretty much every book he wrote.
Okay.
Like this guy sold books because people love being told easy ways to not
shortcut,
gain weight, like all sorts of stuff like that. So 2 years later, he writes another book, a sequel, called Natural Cures Revealed, Previously Censored Brand Names That Cure Disease.
Right. What way were they previously censored? In his other books.
Well, okay, so so basically I'm going to start having to get into like the nitty-gritty of what this guy actually is.
Okay.
So it's a combination of self-help and like dietary advice and like spiritual... there's a spiritual element to it as well.
Okay.
And he starts getting into trouble when he writes the books with like disease in the title.
Yeah, that's pretty...
Because he really starts to make some claims about how his diets and his techniques can just cure diseases.
Did he have one diet that like he invented that is famous? Or?
Yep. Well, it's not. Well, it's famous for being a court case, but he did invent a diet, and it's a really interesting and funny court case there. Sorry, just for everyone listening, I probably spend a good couple hours just listening to this man talk. If you just go out there and Google Kevin Trudeau on YouTube or whatever, and just click on any like 3 hour and fucking 40-minute long video and just scroll to any point you want to.
Is he a seminar guy?
Yeah, he's a big seminar guy, and he will just be espousing bollocks to you. Like it's always like, I am about to reveal to you some information that's going to change your life.
Yeah.
And it's always that he's about to. It's never that he is. He never does.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've got some claims that I came across, sort of, that I just jotted down some claims that he's made, and these aren't necessarily the biggest claims that he's made, because they're just the ones that I have haphazardly stumbled onto.
Right.
Okay, so there's so many more. I think I saw a comment. I've got some comments to read out from his comment section later on, but I found a comment that was insinuating that he's a flat earther as well, which sounds like perfectly accurate and true.
Perfect.
So here are some claims for you. So,
I'm sorry if you're listening. Flat abs for the flat earther. That's your next book. I'm sorry I cut you off. I had to get that little jab in there.
You can't actually get. I don't even know if he's on public record as a flat earther or whether he like takes these things back or not. Like,
right. Was that LaBelle? Have we LaBelle?
I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out. Please sue Grifter of the Week.
I want it so bad.
So one of his claims is that animals, they don't get a lot of the diseases that we get as humans because they don't have vital energies in them the same way that humans do.
Right.
So he has a list of like cancers and metabolic diseases and like all these kinds of things that
animals get cancer.
Well, yeah, they do, man. And he says things like this all of the time that are like, so if you just think about it for more than a second, you go, hold on, I'm pretty sure animals get these diseases as well. And like, obviously vital energies have nothing to do with this, but that's just the first one. His advice. This is just some of his self-help advice.
Okay.
Never take medication. Never take any prescribed medication.
Yeah.
So sunscreen causes cancer, and it is
sunscreen causes cancer.
Yeah. All of the cancer.
No slipping and slopping for this man.
No, all of the cancer that is caused by the sun is actually caused by sunscreen, and he recommends bathing in the sun without sunscreen as much as possible.
My grandfather died of melanoma because he didn't believe in sunscreen.
Yeah. So there's a big subsection where he really recommends a whole bunch of diseases should be cured using Dianetics, baby.
What's Dianetics? That's ringing such a...
It's scratching at your brain,
Is that that's the Scientology one?
It sure is the Scientology one. I have a copy of Dianetics. I should have brought it in. And
wait, so was he a Scientologist
disease.
or was he like a precursor to it?
He was a Scientologist. And a lot of these...
But he didn't invent Dianetics.
No, that was L. Ron Hubbard, my friend.
Right, yeah.
May he rest in peace.
Yeah.
So he was a Scientologist. There's quite a big phenomenon of people getting involved in groups like Scientology because he's.
Oh, is that who he took the fall for?
Yeah, well, not who he took the fall for. No. It's not like that. It's like there's a bunch of other groups like Scientology that are like money-based, tier-based enlightenment systems that these people go through and then take the idea for themselves and then start their own one. Happens all the time.
Okay, sure.
Which is why...
Like the Romans from the Greeks.
Well, what's it? Well, okay, so there's a group called GIN, which is the Global Information Network, which he's a part of, which I think are just a group of like-minded bollockers.
Yeah.
And he in his personal self-help guide, like, he has tiers as well. So you can be like level 7 GIN.
That's so funny.
Information, and that's like top classified secret information.
Top shelf GIN.
Yeah, and that's like a Scientology thing that he's sort of taken over. He's also gone on record to say that you should never eat anything out of a microwave because it's bad, cancer. Microwave bad. And
wait. So microwaves cause cancer.
Yes,
because of the rays.
The waves.
But the sun does not.
No.
Okay.
No, the sun is a big ball of positive love.
Right.
Speaking of love,
does not act in the same way as a microwave at all, and cannot give cancer in the exact same way.
No.
Okay. I'm not a man of science, so I was just making sure.
Yeah, fair enough. So he's also suggesting that food that you cook at home is sort of imbued with love. It has sort of properties in it that heal you the way that store-bought food does not.
Right.
He's suggested that if you're feeling depressed, he's got the solution for you.
Oh, perfect.
White clothing. It's a really good start.
Right.
Go jump on the trampoline 10 minutes a day in some white clothing.
Right.
You will find your depression gone.
Dress up in white clothing.
No.
Maybe wear something to keep the sun out of your eyes.
No, I don't.
I am implying that he's a racist. I'm trying to goad him into suing us so that we can become famous.
Well, I should just say some wrong facts, but the thing is
No,
I don't actually want.
I don't actually want the smoke. I'm what we like to call posturing.
Right. I will happily take a lawsuit. Hey, man, this is a parody comedy podcast. We can say whatever we like. He's really recommended staring at the sun.
This
on
guy,
several
this
times.
guy is like the kid in primary school that is like, it's like every day's opposite day for this fucking guy.
Yeah.
The
Well,
teacher's
he's
like,
always
don't look in
that
the sun,
wrong.
and he's like, well, maybe do look in the sun. It's like, well, that's a
He used to have this grift, which I thought was really funny,
yeah.
where he claimed to be an ex-Illuminati member. And he shares like Illuminati falsehoods or whatever in his work all the time. He'll like bring them up and talk about the Illuminati. But he's gone on
Famously
record to say,
vocal group of people.
yeah,
Ex-Illuminati.
exactly. Well, he's not in there anymore. He said he used to be, and he's like willing to talk to people about it. And he started a website called meetilluminatimembers.com, where
That's like farmers only.
if you pay $1,000 and then a further $150 a month,
Yeah.
you can talk to ex-Illuminati members.
Let's start a Patreon, dude. $1,000 per month in our Patreon.
And I'll
And
RP
Kaleb
is
is-
Illuminati.
RP suggests roleplay. Caleb is in the
Yeah.
Illuminati.
I used to be in Fonterra.
And for $150.
I
He'll
will
talk to
talk
you.
about how our farming is impacting the environment, and we knew and we did nothing. I'll
Yeah.
talk about it if you guys give me $1,000.
$1,000.
Joel has been in, and he's got the inside scoop that he's willing to give you for $1,000.
Yeah.
So basically, I just wanted to give you like a rundown of some of the specific stuff that he's asserted in his books. But there's like a lot of like, I can cure cancer with this food, like bollocks. There's a lot of we all have energies in us, bollocks. You know what I mean? There's all
Where
that
do
kind
you
of stuff.
stand on having energy?
I'm really anti religion and
I'll tell you what.
spirituality.
I'll tell you what.
and,
I'll tell you
like, all
what.
that kind
I'm
of
sorry to
stuff.
cut you off. I desperately need to piss, so this is what's going to happen. I'm going to go and
gonna
piss,
fill?
and you're going to fill the entire
Okay.
time. And if there's a cut,
Yeah.
they know that you weren't funny or interesting enough without me.
So he was married 3 times,
Yeah.
and his most recent wife, who is still around, currently runs a whole bunch of his former companies. So like,
Is he in prison?
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know, man.
Righto.
He wrote a book called I think it was called The Cure for Weight Loss, which is a really
The Cure
weird.
for Weight
It
Loss,
was
yeah.
written really stupidly, but it doesn't matter. These things are bestsellers no matter what. Like people really like, and it claims to have a diet that he followed. That's like an easy diet to follow.
Did he used to be fat?
He claimed to have lost 45 pounds in 45 days, but I've not seen an image of him that doesn't look like he's looked the same build in every instance, but I don't know. That could be the case. He got into some trouble because it turns out a whole bunch of the things in his diet and his book were completely unsubstantiated claims. They were just lies.
Oh, yeah. I could have told you that at the book title.
Yeah. And he sort of got taken to court about it. And he agreed to pay a $500,000 fine.
Jesus.
Under the condition that he could still sell his books because they were protected under the First Amendment.
Right. So why does he have to pay the fine for lying?
Well, that's exactly the thing that is.
So you can... Yeah,
it's like you can't just say whatever you want because you're being fined right now for lying to people and manipulating them into doing something that's wrong.
But you... Yeah, that's strange.
But he's like trying to evoke a First Amendment right to continue being able to sell the books that got him in that situation in the first place. So I think what they're saying is they were going to revoke his like authorship license or something like that.
Yeah, like how much there's profits from the
Like
book?
he's not allowed to like sell books and make money off it anymore. But I think what they've agreed on is you can do that, but you cannot make unsubstantiated claims in it. You cannot say these things in the book because like you are lying to people or something like that. In 2011, he gets ordered to pay $37.6 million because he violated the settlement in that court by
Did he pay
the initial 500,000. I want to say he did.
Okay.
Yeah. And but he violated the agreement that they made about selling his books and not putting bollocks in them.
Right.
So he had to pay a $2 million bond to even be able to continue selling any books at all.
They should do that to J.K. Rowling.
Yeah. In 2013, he filed for bankruptcy. And that was a big issue because
Yeah, does he not have to pay the 30?
yeah, he's like, I don't have $37 million
Yeah.
and I'm just going to declare bankruptcy. That's me.
I
I'm
wish
done.
I could do that with the IID, dude.
Oh yeah, why is that?
I just owe the government. I owe 3 different government departments
Yeah.
And I owe $2,500 to the government right now. As I sit here.
Do you want to? Because some of one of them's like a criminal fine, isn't it? Are you going to bleep
Well,
that?
it's a parking ticket.
That what? Whatever then, fine.
Yeah.
So he's filed for bankruptcy.
I parked on a child that was previously alive.
Yeah. Small fine that you had to pay that one.
Are you going to bleep it out? Yeah. I was parked on a street with no warrant.
Well, look, man, you talk about bleeping stuff out that's like very minor all the time.
Well, yeah, I am going to bleep out.
You really?
Maybe.
That's so far removed from anything that could get you in trouble.
Maybe.
So anyway, he's filed for bankruptcy, and you can't cut.
I might.
He's filed for bankruptcy in 2013, and the boys down.
No PlayStation 4 for him. Can't afford it.
No. The boys down at the, I think it's the Federal Trade Commission, who are the people who initially
Sure, I believe it.
donked him for his 37 million because of his dubious stuff. Basically say, you cannot file for bankruptcy because we've investigated you.
Yeah.
And last week, you got a $359 haircut.
A 359 is. Can you show me a photo of this person?
Yes.
Because that's. I know it.
And it is not the fade that you were expecting to see.
Because I expect to see a pretty fucking swagged out dome, dude. How much? 257?
359.
359?
This is what he looks like. He kind of looks like Richard Spencer a little bit. Tell me what you see.
I'm just not seeing a almost $400 haircut.
No, you're not, are you?
I'm seeing a lot of trilbies. And if you don't know what a trilby is,
congratulate yourself.
Congratulations. If you do, it'll get better.
Okay, great. So, in November of 2013, he gets convicted for 10 years of prison. I heard him talking about it, and he's lying, by the way, because I've looked into this. But what he said is that the entire case is built upon the idea that his diet is, quote, easy. And they're saying it is not easy, right. And therefore it's like false advertising, and therefore... Yeah. Okay, so now I've looked into...
Well, there's only one diet that works.
What do you mean?
There's only one like actual real diet that is effective.
What is it?
And 2 ingredients. Uh-huh. First ingredient, eating a lot of Subway sandwiches. The second ingredient...
Oh, no.
is a nice regimen.
Yeah.
Of exercise.
Uh-huh. Well, that's really funny, man. Thanks. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've really looked into all sides of him talking about going to jail for 10 years. Okay. So his initial claim is that he said that it's an easy way to lose 45 pounds in 45 days. And the prosecuting legal team is saying it is not easy, and therefore he should not be allowed to sell this book.
I'm sorry, I'm just imagining he's in a jail cell. He's sharing a jail cell with Jared. And Jared goes, what do they get you for? And he goes, just some diet-related things. And Jared's like, yeah, same. I was lying about this somewhere.
Yeah. Oh my God, are those pants yours? They used to be.
Used to be. Yeah.
Oh God. Okay, so...
Because they said they caught him, with his pants around his ankles. But with pants that size.
Natural. So, I've looked into the diet.
Yeah, it's not easy.
First of all, it involves getting 15 colonoscopies in 30 days.
What?
It involves, which... if you're wearing all white clothes and jumping on the trampoline during that period of time,
is it? Yeah,
you
what
might.
The fuck?
Yeah,
I don't know if you can. I don't think you could convince a doctor if you go to a doctor 15 times in 1 month and be like, you should check my asshole out.
Yeah,
they would be like, this isn't the place for you, buddy.
No, definitely not.
If this is a pastime, there's nothing wrong with that. If this is a pastime that you're interested in. You should go and do that, but the doctor's office is not the place.
There's daily muscular hormone injections that you have to take that are not available in the United States. So you have to like
no,
that
type of
I
thing?
I don't know, but they're like something like that. You take you inject into your muscles some hormones that are not legal to be bought in most places in the United States.
Sounds pretty easy to me.
Yeah. He's eligible for release in 2022.
Okay.
Which is soon.
Which is when he'll be on the podcast, I imagine.
Please. if we've said anything even remotely inaccurate that you would like to correct us on,
come on.
Please come on the podcast.
You can Skype it. We'll buy a new mixer. We'll call you up. We'll Skype you in.
Clear your name, man.
If one of your wives wants to call in, we can talk to her if she's running your businesses.
Sure, yeah. But make sure you...
If Jared wants to drop a line, Caleb will talk to you. I won't because I've got some moral problems with what you did. But Caleb will give you, Caleb will chat with you.
Yeah, sure. It's his shout for lunch though. But okay, that's pretty much the story of him. I don't think I missed anything.
What was his name?
Kevin Trudeau.
Kevin Trudeau. I suppose we now have to, deliberate because here at Grifter of the Week, the whole purpose of this is me and Caleb, or Joel and Kaleb. I realize I probably have not introduced myself at all. We're trying to find the greatest grifter of all time. And as this is our first episode, we're looking for positions 1 and 2. On one hand, we've got a man who was pretending to be a film director he had never met before, possibly because of mental health issues, almost definitely aided by them. And a man that said he could cure AIDS with
muscular injections
and colonoscopies.
There's so much more to the diet. Oh my god.
If you're going in terms of like the greatest grift, which is probably what we are doing, then I think your guy takes the cake for sure.
Well, if we're doing it on terms of like what's more harmful, the issue is that
I think it's a question of scope.
The Stanley Kubrick man did like rape people.
That is rape, right?
Yeah.
You're pretending to be someone else, and you're like saying you're going to help. Yeah.
Whereas my guy is a still now lurking threat.
Yeah.
Who has scammed so much money from so many people, and
if we were going on numbers alone, this guy fucking takes.
The thing is I really don't think that we that you understand how much of an emphasis and how bad it really is to convince a group of people to not take medication.
That's insane.
You're really, really fucking people's lives up by saying that, and so many of them are like, I don't take my schizophrenia medication at all anymore.
Yeah, that's fucking you're right. I'll tell you what. Number 1.
Kevin Trudeau.
Number 2, Alan
Stanley
Conway. Yes, Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, fair enough. I think I'd agree with that. I don't think that they're that far off each other, though, to be honest. Like, it's not.
Well, your guy's just the scope is.
The scope is larger, but like
my guy was just very specific.
I don't think
I
don't think that we should judge these things sheerly on scope alone.
There's some style points.
I think there's some creativity.
Yeah.
I think that maybe also like damage, because again, like Kevin Trudeau damages people's lives even now in like more subtle ways, but Stanley Kubrick damaged people's lives very directly. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know if cool.
Well, yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for coming in. Thanks for sitting with us. We don't actually have a Patreon, even though we plugged it 3 times, and we won't have one until we've got a bigger audience. But what I would beg you to do is leave a review on iTunes, because apparently that helps a lot.
Really?
Allegedly, yeah.
Like a good one? Does it matter if it's bad?
I don't know. I'd like a good one. I think
an honest one.
An honest one. Yeah. I think that it's like the way that Apple judges like engagement.
And in that review, sign it off with a 1 if you think Joel's voice is more annoying than mine. Right. And sign it off with a 2 if you think that Caleb's voice is more annoying than Joel's.
Tell you what. You can do that, or you can follow me on Twitter. Probably not Joel. Just DM me what you thought of Caleb's performance, and if there's any issues you'd like me to pass on to him. Yeah. If you have any criticisms of me, you can give that to yourself.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to plug, brother? Yeah, no. Yeah. A third bleep.
All right, well, see you then.
See you later.